All right, welcome to Sportstream Network. I'm Jeff DeForest, and we're coming to you live today from beautiful Gulfstream Park. One of our favorite stops on the tour. Was out here this morning doing the radio show, and you can catch that on iHeartRadio.com. And, of course, here on the video stream on Sportstream Network, Jory and Todd doing a fine job. They're looking a little better, the boys. Last time you saw them, they weren't in such great shape.
A little ragged, yeah.
Yes, let me introduce our guest here today, and this is a man of legendary status, and I'm not sure we're on the right network today because it's Sportstream Network. We are at a racetrack, and there is a big deal happening in thoroughbred racing and a lot of other celebrated stuff going on in sport. As they got American Pharoah going in the Travers, a big fight coming up this week, preseason football week number 3, baseball races going crazy, Met fans are out of their minds like it was. And Erica is like coming right up my ass. I mean, literally, every time I see the cone, they got my ass.
It's wet. It's wet. It's going to be a wet one.
This is a man of great distinction, and we know him fondly as the former Rabbi Larry Fine. Now, in reality, it can be admitted here on Sportstream Network, that was actually a fictional character. We had made up a character, a friend of mine and I, Paulie Mann from the Trivia Challenge show, and we had supposedly created and run into a character that had made off with the synagogue's money, the charitable funds that they were collecting during the various services they held, and he had gone to California because he had been told that there was a sure thing in 2 of the 6 legs of the pick 6. So he took the congregation's money, went out to Santa Anita, plunged like a maniac, both horses lost, and then he had to traverse the world in disgrace.
Sounded like a good thing, though, Dave. Come on.
Yeah,
guarantees?
I mean,
come on.
So you played that character for us, and then, of course, art almost always ends up imitating life, and then life sometimes imitates art.
Unbelievably so.
Yes.
2 guarantees. I come up with the other 4 pieces. Of course, they were all. Even still.
Well, I mean, it made sense. That's why you needed all of the money from the congregation. Some of the people with the B'nai B'rith weren't too happy with this man in this fantasy story that we had made up. But then you ran into this in reality, and now I guess, it's a public record.
Yes.
But we're on a trip to the Bahamas. You're playing the former Rabbi Larry Fine, the character.
And having a blast. Having a good
time. There wasn't a bar tab that you weren't picking up. You were winning at the blackjack table.
Correct.
Everything was going great. And your big concern is, maybe somebody slipped some pot, that Bahamian gentleman might have sold you, and you were too, tempted to take it home instead of put it in the toilet.
The weird thing about the Bahamas, just getting off track for 1 second, is I think everybody on that trip, it was the same person.
Yes.
The guy at Customs, then we went to the limo. It was the same guy in a different outfit.
Yes.
Then there was the lady at the front desk of the hotel with a blonde wig. I look at the guy, is that? No, it can't be. Everyone's same road.
All of a sudden, it was like Midnight Express at the airport. I couldn't figure out what was happening. Yes.
I felt the heat. They took me aside. They searched through my bag. They were giving me hardcore questions. And I said, did I offend you in some way?
Yeah.
I mean,
and you were hitting on the Bahamian customs agent,
I knew
which was a mistake.
Something was up. And we got on the plane coming home, and they made an announcement. Please, before disembarking, have your passport ready. I still wasn't thinking anything of it. Got my passport ready, and they said, right this way, Mr. S. I said, what? And the guy said to me, do you have any... What's up? We have a warrant for you, sir.
Oh, nice. They diverted this plane, too. The other people were supposed to go to Fort Lauderdale. They divert this plane to Miami. You didn't even know what country you were in.
They were laughing. They thought it was a big joke, and so did I, actually.
We didn't know what happened to you.
Until reality struck.
All right, so I don't know how much of the detail of the reason why they were seeking you to be incarcerated.
Oh, it was the kids pay your markers in Las Vegas. That's all I could say. It's not a joke.
You got a few dimes.
Pay your markers.
A few dimes out there at a Vegas casino. All of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, the president had approved, rubber stamped the deal where there was now a cooperative effort to nail people who had stiffed Vegas in the Bahamas.
I was a VIP.
You were big out there,
I was a big time guy. 21st floor. The bathroom with the 2-man hot tub, everything nice. The full cops everywhere. And I was there 2 weeks before. I knew nothing of this happening. Had the deal on my business. It was sold. It was a done deal.
Yeah.
And I told them, as soon as everything straightened out, you're the first people I pay because I love this place.
Yes.
Which is true, of course.
Was it de Blasio?
No. It was a small
Small place outside the strip there. Yeah, it was like Johnny's Silver Nugget or something.
Yes,
It's a bowling alley sports book run by some guy who's of ill repute.
Big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, so that all sounds good. So now, what happens? They take you on an odyssey of terror.
So, but this was the weird thing. When customs had me, they said we're not even sure they want you. Blah blah blah. They're probably not going to even. This is not going to happen. And they said, oh, they do want you, which DeFo, it's nice to be wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, but not necessarily in this way. Okay.
Yeah. All right, they're putting a sign up on the table. They'll do that. All right, so now what happens?
Are they serving cocktails or what? Because I take
Nando's ready to go, man.
That was actually a request from management here.
Oh, yeah? Very nice. I like it.
To get rid of the guest or what? Okay.
The sign up, it says wanted.
Oh, really?
Dead or alive.
Really?
Yeah, it's got a reward.
A Crown Royal.
Underneath
on
that
the
hat,
rocks,
there's
sir.
a price on your
Crown
head.
Royal on
Former
the rocks,
Rabbi
sir.
Larry Fine.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
so
enough of
now
that.
you're thinking what? You're thinking this is
I'm flying out to Vegas. When he told me what it was, I said, oh, my God, you got to be kidding me. No problem. We'll get this thing straightened out. So I'll be flying to Vegas tomorrow. I'll be at lunch at Caesar's Palace, and then I'll spend a few days in Vegas, and I'll be on my way home. Well, it didn't exactly work out that way.
There was another side of this.
Yeah, there was
that was
another
very
side.
sinister, yeah.
Yeah, they take me to Dade County Jail.
Which is probably not a pleasant...
oh, my God, the worst.
No bond.
And no bond.
Judge
Can't get a
no
bond.
bond
When you have a warrant from out of state, you cannot bond out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right? So
that's problem number one. That's the first red
I'm with
flag.
like a convicted attempted murderer, and he's telling me you got nothing to worry about because if they don't come get you in 30 days, you're off. So I said, fine. Well, 9 days goes by, no commissary, no nothing, in the hole, in Dade County, which is horrible.
9 days in a Dade County.
9 days in Dade County. Can't
no
get
answers.
Can't get commissary.
You're just
can't
hoping
get nothing.
Yeah, right.
Get nothing, right? So you're living on those bologna
sandwiches.
sandwiches.
You were living it up in the Bahamas just a
After
couple of days before. You had like two bimbos on each arm.
Living large.
Unbelievable.
With big bootay.
Yeah.
And wow, it's just awful.
All right,
so
then they
finally they said they're here for you.
Yeah.
I said, oh, thank God. Brunch.
You thought it was your
Caesar's
attorney and a
Palace.
bondsman.
I think they're taking me to the airport. I'm going on the plane. No, there's a guy there with a van. I said, what? I said, this can't possibly be for me. Do you know who I am? They said, yes, we do. So, shocker like Hannibal Lecter. Like this going into the thing.
Jeez.
In a van, all day drive. We drive up to, I don't know, Orlando or wherever. No, to some other. This South Florida, we're grateful. It's not really Florida. It's not really the South. This is, sixth borough of
this
New
isn't
York.
Deep South, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get up to
you can still get a knish here.
Oh my God! I don't even
don't
know
ask
what
for one in
is.
Murfreesboro, right? Exactly.
Terrible. So we spend the night in the jail over there, get processed again. You know, everything.
The whole
fingerprint,
thing,
the phone, the ass cheek. You know, everything. They do everything.
Nice. This is all over a market too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then spend the night there. Then resaddle up again. Get in the van. Start trying. Make a long story short, 9 days in the van all over the country. Even circumvented Las Vegas, ended up in California, right? Which I said, one guy in the truck told me, this place is great. They serve food. Their food is fantastic. He's been this route before.
Yeah.
And I said, this is good. They give you fresh fruit, coffee, everything. They don't serve coffee in the joint, in case you don't know that.
No.
So if you're a coffee man, you
you
got to have your coffee every day.
You end up with the shakes. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
Headaches, the whole thing.
So I said, this is fine. I don't mind if we stay here for a couple of days. I like this place in California. Until they locked us up. And then it was like a 23-hour lockup. I was like with Mexican gangbangers, in a tiny cell. I couldn't sleep. I'm pacing around the cell like a ferret around a cage. And then when you do get your hour out to take a shower, they're all yelling at you, Mira, Paco Lopez. No, but it was no Paco Lopez. It was, come here, go hand this to this cell. I'm like, oh, my God, please, give me a break. I got to take a shower, man. And then finally get to Vegas. I said, sweetness.
Yeah.
Home sweet home.
Right.
9 days in Clark County.
Wow, that can't be pleasant either.
Now, let me just...
A lot of losers in there.
Yeah, let me go back.
Was the juice in at
that
time?
But that was good because it was like a dormitory. So it was like, this is nice, very nice.
This is about a 30-day extravaganza.
A 30-day
This is over this marker in Las Vegas?
Absolutely.
No one's talked to you yet
ridiculous.
about what this thing is?
No, and I have an attorney, Shyster, and Shyster. I think they're expanding now into South Florida.
Yeah, I remember that in Midnight Express.
Just insane. My attorney now gave the case over to his assistant attorney, who during the process became disbarred.
As soon as your retainer check clears, that's always what happens.
Oh, this is what he said.
Yeah, we got a paralegal.
I said, can you get me out? He goes, get me $5,000. and it must be wired.
Yes.
It must be wired into my account,
Into
and
his
then not
racing
to worry
account,
about it. Right, I think it was ExpressBet it was in.
Red Bus Stables,
Oh,
yeah,
my
right,
God.
exactly.
It
Yeah.
was,
All right, so how do you get
quite
out of
a
this thing?
deal.
Because the end of the story is really the kicker here. Yeah.
Oh, the end
You
of
know,
the story.
you're
yeah,
like
at least-
25 days.
at
You're
least
in
it
there with
does
the
have a
Crips
good
and the
ending.
Bloods.
Right.
And
No, here,
your life
here.
has been threatened
Now-
half a dozen
now,
times.
I will tell you, once I got to Clark County, I was happy because I could get commissary. So I'm eating my Snicker bars, my coffee, my ramen noodles, 75
Yeah.
cents a pack. That was like,
You're a heck of a chameleon, though. I don't know how you made this adjustment from
it's amazing.
the buffets at the
It's
Bahamian
amazing.
hotel we were at.
I was telling them guys, when I get out of here, I'm going to take like a bunch of you to the Bellagio and we'll go eat at the buffet because
Yes.
those guys were starving. So anyway, I get my commissary on a Friday. My attorney tells me for sure you're getting out today. I give everything away. I saved 2 candy bars. I think Mars bars. they
Yeah.
were. 'Cause I said, these other guys have nothing to eat. I gave it to them. And then I get my attorney goes, no, we can't do it today. It's going to be Monday.
Oh, yeah, no, that's ugly. There's no court, right? You get arrested on a
No
Saturday
court.
night. No
That's
court
right.
on
No,
Sunday.
no,
yeah.
no court.
They can't
And
find a
then
judge.
It was just
So you end up rolling out of it. The legendary part of the story is you roll out of all of this after all of this
go to
hideous stuff,
Bali. But I flew right from there.
and enter a handicapping tournament.
I flew right from there I talked to my dad. He goes, when are you coming home? I said, well, I got to go to Arizona first. He goes, what's in Arizona? I said, I'm in a handicapping tournament at Turf Paradise. He said, I'm going to kill you.
Nothing could dissuade
He
you
said,
from
"I'm
the
gonna
degenerate
kill
gene.
you."
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I said, it's prepaid, Dad. You should understand
I'm
that.
in,
I can't
yeah.
get my money
You got
back.
out just
I
in
gotta
time.
go.
Yeah.
We went there. I didn't get killed, but I made a few dollars. But 2 months later, I was at the Bally's, win a $68,000 tournament, wire to wire.
Pay off the marker and
Right, paid off the marker. I actually
you're square with
I'm
society at
square
long
with them,
last.
and
Yes.
now it's just picking up the pieces again. I need a sponsor. I'm looking for a sponsor.
Great American here, the former Rabbi Larry Fine, also known as the Great Ira, who went from being like a guy with leather jackets and
Right,
watches and
gold
gold chains
chains.
to a cowboy hat now.
Right,
and
exactly.
He's singing Glenn Campbell songs.
I do have a song actually that's really truly out. It's called Rock Bottom. I never knew I'd really live up to it.
Yeah, they
and
say you have to kind of experience
it's
it
amazing.
to be able to write songs like
somehow I wrote it before I experienced it, which is
that. That could also be the title of your book, Rock Bottom with the former rabbi.
But we are going to have to revisit which we didn't get to. This is a whole long story, but that transport company called Transcore that actually took the prisoners, to myself included,
City to city, yeah.
from all over the country. People have died in their care. People have died from not getting medication. People have died. They walk out there with shotguns.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like the security team at a stadium.
rest
where
in
you-
pieces. Boom. I mean, it's incredible.
Wow.
And they're under investigation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why would a city like Las Vegas condone
Is
those
it possible you can
people
make a score in the
I'm
end of
gonna
this?
make a score with them, yes.
Oh, very nice. And this was years ago, though.
This was years ago.
Because I remember a young, dashing Paulie
Yeah,
man
right.
being a part of the scene there, and he was like, I don't know what happened to the former rabbi.
And I remember you saying, wow, this guy looks great. What did he do? I think 30 days in the hole. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, you got
It's
to
a
change
great
it.
regimen.
All right, what do you think about American Pharaoh, God?
I
Going into
think
Travers, is there a
American
way to
Pharaoh-
lose? No?
Like you were saying earlier in your show earlier today, hardcore gamblers like us, we're always looking to beat it. We're always looking to cash in on it because we
Go
can't
get some
make
grand.
any
It's an
money.
opportunity with another horse.
But
Gonna
this
get a
thing
hell
is
of a
the
price.
real deal. This horse is the real
Yeah,
deal.
he seems
And
to just fly over the ground.
He's done it easily.
Yeah.
He's never broken a sweat. He's laughing all the way. I mean, he's a horse that really needs to be embraced. He's like the new Secretariat. He really is. This
Yeah.
horse is a monster.
It could be. I mean, if he ends up winning the Travers, which is no
Wow.
small accomplishment, because we've seen many Triple Crown horses get involved there, and the fresh piece, as they say in the business, comes in and blows them out, and you never hear from him again.
Could he do anything wrong?
Yeah.
Could he, at this point, could he do anything wrong after winning the Triple Crown in that style and fashion? Could he do anything wrong?
I'm going to bet against him, because I'm going to throw. I figure maybe Texas Red has a shot. But I'm going to send a couple of bimbos to the hotel room of Victor Espinoza, who's been known
Excellent
to be
idea,
inclined
sir.
to dabble in the ladies a little bit, maybe to an extreme.
Excellent.
I think
idea,
Nando was
sir.
aware of the
I like
fact that he had like 3 blondes when he was going into the Belmont there.
I like that.
But these were the good kind, so
Yeah,
they weren't the
right.
kind that was going to put him on some kind of psychotic
I
side
like
trip.
that. I like this
But,
idea.
a couple
I like
of
where
bimbos
you're
in the
going
hotel
here.
there in Saratoga's. Maybe you have a meet at Ciro's the night before the big race and Friday night tonight, and that's it. Throw him off his
This
game a little bit.
This is why you get the big bucks, sir.
Hope he gets off to a little bit of a slow start. Just enough of an impediment to even the greatest horse of all time to get him a loss. And here comes Texas Red flying on the outside.
You know, Texas Red was a great story himself. And when he
Yeah.
interviewed Kent DeSormo.
Kent
after he
DeSormo,
won,
a bottle of bourbon in one hand and a whip in the other.
After he won the Breeders' Cup with that horse,
Yeah.
they interviewed him, and he said, you know what? Texas Red is a little bit like me. He said, he was acting up like crazy. Once they yelled at him, he was monstrous.
Yeah.
And he said, people talk about me that I'm not that stable. He said, but when I'm on my game, nobody is better. And he said,
Texas
just
Red
like
could be that
Texas
horse. I mean, any horse
It's
can
going to be an
beaten.
interesting race. I wouldn't.
It sure attracted a lot of attention, which is great. I mean, and yet we were talking about that earlier today, where I don't know if it's being done by any sense of virtue on the part of the owners. I think it's
Right.
the usual sense of greed
Oh, for
that is
sure.
driving them to this, and they're adding millions of dollars to the purses
for
for
sure.
races that
Absolutely.
have enough tradition alone. You would think it would be enough of a distinction to win the Travers. Do you have to stuff an extra
Yes,
600,000?
Yes, sir. Yes, you do.
I guess
Yes,
you do, right?
Yes, you do.
It's nice to get that little
In
stoop
an
if you're the horse,
ostrich,
even
in an
then.
ostrich skin bag. I mean, something that can't just be like that.
Mr.
Gotta be
Zayat, it
doing
is a
right.
pleasure to have you here in Saratoga.
Exactly, Your Highness.
The mayor shows up like he was Juan
Right,
Antonio
right,
Samaranch and hands him a sack full of cash.
Right. Like he needs more money. That's what he needs, more money.
Yeah, and then they got a shot. You know, the horse is going to be. They sold him for what, $20 million. So,
Oh my God.
but it would be a hell of a campaign if that horse won the Triple Crown after like a 37-year hiatus. I don't care against
Right.
what, because you know you can hear Andy Beyer in your head going, "This is the worst field of 3-year-olds since Plug Nickel was favored to win the Derby at 3-5."
Well, it's just absolutely untrue. It's the best. It's the best of the crop. So what are you going to say?
Yeah, and there've been the usual new shooters coming in there and trying to.
What field could this horse not beat? This horse could beat anything that was ever historically done.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And if it rains, I mean, if this Erica
If it
weaves
rains,
its
he laps
evil
it
way
up.
up
He
to,
laps it
well,
up
no, it
even
won't be in
more.
New York by tomorrow yet, and he absolutely loves it. But real interesting. And then we'll go in the Breeders' Cup, obviously, if he wins the Travers and take on older horses in the Classic.
I would consider betting serious money against him with other people's money.
Yes.
That I would do.
Yes.
With
Well,
other people's
essentially,
money,
that's what we're going to attempt to
absolutely.
do.
And that's your mission.
You got to
Should
take a
decide
flyer
to
against the
accept
one
it.
tonight show. Two schools of thought. I mean, you could concede the race to the favorite and see if you can hit the exact underneath for complete a trifecta for a
See
bunch
who
of
we
money.
could talk into this. I think after a few.
We're not
cocktails-
having too many takers. Yeah, no. We were talking with the lovely Kate and Bradar, who's an outstanding
You got to
racing
start the
analyst.
drinks flowing a little bit. I'm
Earlier,
telling you,
yeah.
I think we could do this.
A couple of martinis into it, we might be able to make a case for what is the horse that won the the Fountain of Youth here, and then starts with a U, whatever it.
You all.
No, the horse. I think he's the one in this race. In the Travers Stakes, would have been the favorite if American Pharaoh didn't come in. But anyway, it should be a lot of fun, and we'll see what happens. It's good for the game overall,
Absolutely.
and people are talking about it. A lot
Absolutely.
of people will be riveted to the screen there tomorrow, as you got a million sporting choices, and horse racing once again will be in the spotlight. Well, you've been a real sport telling the story.
Been a
Former
pleasure,
Rabbi Larry
pleasure
Klein,
being
just
with
an
you again.
absolute delight having you on the show.
I would say that.
That was an
anyway, but I
odyssey
really
of
mean
terror.
it.
That was unbelievable, and a true story.
Right.
That and as once again, life imitates art. You're playing a crooked rabbi who is demented enough to steal the congregation's money on the radio, and
was a
that
good
day
idea.
you get extradited to like Tijuana.
It's amazing.
And you're thinking, and you're trying to make bets at Agua Caliente. You're asking if the dogs are running. You're
And
asking the guards.
the fictitious congregation is willing to forgive me after restitution and respecting the restraining order. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier today. There's no sincerity in any apology.
Oh, please.
Who's ever apologized and really meant it? Nobody. It's just the only problem that you have is you know you're going to have to take some crap, so you go ahead and pretend and feign repentance. And the truth of the matter is, when you apologize to the congregation, as the former Rabbi Larry Fine, they knew you were full of crap.
Exactly. And I'm very happy now working on the campaign, Donald Trump's campaign.
It was probably a mistake to put on the back of the the Torah. Your hot picks line.
Right, my circle plays single in the fourth. my best play of the day.
Right, my hot kidney special of the day.
But I really do love your Victor Espinoza plan, and I think
isn't
we
that
could
a good
sell
move,
it.
right?
I think we could sell it that way without giving all
Slutty
the details.
bimbos of Saratoga, right?
Victor is in on the plan.
Isn't that great? Like, I cover a lot of boxing. Every now and then you'd be in the gyms and
He
you'd
dropped
see
the whip.
You'd see the champ come stumbling in there and, after an all-night drunk 3 days before the fight, blow off his sparring session, do a couple of minutes on the bike, and you'd say...
You're a devious
the
genius,
champ's
and I
been,
mean that.
drinking,
I mean
yeah.
that in the best way possible. You're a devious genius.
Yeah, we got to come up with something here, right? It's just...
We got all day.
It's too
and
common.
An open bar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That was part of the contract. Right?
As much, and you know what? We say this, while also being more than content if the horse draws off and wins by 10 and gets some more excitement created, because there'll be a lot of fools pumping money into the pools tomorrow. Yeah. Everything tends to pay way more if you hit something on the undercard. Yeah.
Doesn't it seem to?
Yeah, because you got 75,000 people. What are they going to have? 90,000 people out there tomorrow? Something like that.
Can you imagine?
That's amazing.
I'd like to have that concession tomorrow.
Wouldn't that be great, right? For those $9 beers at Saratoga.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly they juiced everybody, too. All of the rates, they're making you pay for the tables now, and a lot of complaints about that, which is unfortunate because you got something that you've been trying to attract people to for a long time, and then you're going to turn them off by gouging them before they get in. Remember, that was a big complaint of a track guy. Was
gouge them and gouge them again.
I'm out $8 before I even get started.
It's true. Gouge them and gouge them again.
Yeah.
That's my motto anyway.
That's what they're going to do. All right, that's tomorrow at Saratoga. Former Rabbi, a pleasure,
Thank
my
you,
friend.
my pleasure. And
Thanks,
Donald
for
Trump,
stopping
really
by.
consider him.
Yeah. I think he's going to win it. Could have had him at 40 to 1.
Greatest entertainment value.
Imagine this guy meeting like the Shah of Iran.
And Rosie O'Donnell, this goes out to you, honey.
But Trump, it would take a lot of audacity for him to look at somebody like that and say, "Hey, what's that schmuck on your head?" When he's got this thing that you can't even look at.
No, that don't go. Anyway, thanks again.
Could have had him, yeah. All right, former Rabbi Larry Fine.
Hope to be on the other show with you on your Degenerate Friday.
Degenerate Friday, yeah. You're going to get in on the picks?
It's the Degenerate Fridays, not so much for the picks, but more tips from my own foibles in life to your other degenerates on the show.
You could serve as a public service
absolutely.
kind of
There should be a warning.
A human
there should
red
be a warning
flag, yes.
once a week.
You're like a flare.
It's a classic in the making, guaranteed. I mean that.
A drowning swimmer, yes. And you finally shoot a flare up there is the former Rabbi Larry Fine.
Thank you.
All right. These are the kind of characters that you find out here at Gulfstream Park. We've known this gentleman a long, long time. That's a true story, by the way. Extradited all over the place. He ends up with like El Chapo in some Tijuana lockup. And, all of a sudden they realize that he can pick horses. So people befriend him. They send him on his way. I'm surprised he didn't get that same elaborate escape route that El Chapo actually had, because anybody would have wanted to let him out so he could get back to the handicapping tournament. He wins that thing and then goes and cashes for $68,000 a couple of weeks down the road. Good time out here at Gulfstream Park. Of course, excuse me, they will have the Travers simulcast here at Silk Simulcast and Parlor. I would recommend Nando's Bar, where we're at here every Friday, and tip generously, because there's always a chance that for a short period of time that you're going to end up ahead of the game. Which my son gave me a great piece of gambling advice many years ago. He says the minute you're 10 cents ahead in any session, now there are going to be ones where you just go right out the door and lose right from the start. But inevitably, during any gambling session, there comes a point where at some point you're at least a few dollars ahead. And his recommendation was the minute you're 10 cents ahead, whoosh, head for the exits. In fact, be known, if you had done that your whole life, you would probably be way ahead lifetime. Instead of the usual, you get up a couple of sticks, you start sending it in greater proportions. Next thing you know, you're stuck 300 and out the door, and you're calling it a satisfying day because you only managed to lose $400 or $500 on that day's card. All right, out here at Gulfstream Park, a lot of other stuff going on. Pretty excited. I know Nando over here is a boxing fan, and Jory, who's producing and CEO of all of our stream networks, big boxing fan. I've been looking forward to this fight for a while. It's Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Maris. This is a big L.A. fight. I was out there many years ago, the Olympic Auditorium, great site for a boxing match. Literally, I mean, they painted the walls with blood. I think they
the one on ESPN?
This is an ESPN fight coming up tomorrow. Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Maris, the main event. And this is one of those fights where both guys have that kind of Mexican-American L.A. flash. You can go back, and I remember in the 70s there was a guy out there named Bobby the Schoolboy Chacon, and when he was fighting, the whole town was talking about it. There was a buzz about it for weeks in advance. They'd line up at the Olympic Auditorium. They'd match him up against a Mexican national. It was the ultimate thing to sell tickets. There'd be 4,000 guys rooting for the Mexican national, 4,000 guys on the Schoolboy side, Bobby Chacon. Usually a pretty engaging fight where they didn't just dance around the ring for a while. They actually got into it. And there were a couple of others in that category. Oscar De La Hoya, eventually probably the most well-known of that type, where he had that L.A. connection and that kind of star quality to him. Looked like a rock star coming into the ring. Both of these guys have that. Leo Santa Cruz in maybe a little bit more low-key fashion. Abner Maris looks like he can go straight off. If he gets knocked down, he go right off the canvas and into cinema, as he would be a natural to go into movies. Has that kind of matinee idol good looks, and both these guys can fight. So it's a great contrast in styles. Looking really forward to it. They've been doing a good job so far with this Premier Boxing Champion Series. At first considered a little bit bogus because the guy Al Heyman that's responsible for it, trying to bring under his theory of virtue, trying to bring the great fights back to the people. A lot of people thought, well, he's just using it as a showcase. He's matching his own guys against really poor quality opponents. That's been the knock on Santa Cruz for a while. Fighting stiffs, as they say, guys with Campbell's written across their chest. But this kid can fight. He's got the old school style. I think Customato, if he could come back from the dead, would want to be ringside and in the corner of Leo Santa Cruz. Finishes everything off with a vicious left hook to the body, like kind of a punctuation point for everything he does in any flurry, and willing to exchange. Comes straight forward. Has a little bit of that Customato Mike Tyson defensive style, and is a very aggressive fighter. You're not going to see this guy. He doesn't know how to take a backward step. And the same thing could be said of Morris. So if they say styles make fights and there's any credibility to that, this one is a perfect one. They don't always turn out like you expect. I remember many years ago I was watching and looking forward to seeing Timothy Bradley, who would eventually distinguish himself when they robbed Manny Pacquiao of a decision, and then they fought again. And he's kind of changed his style a little bit and distinguished himself as a little bit more of a brawler, willing to mix it up. And he was fighting a guy named Devin Alexander, who was all the rage out of St. Louis, Missouri. They were both undefeated guys, and they got in there, and the fight was an absolute dud. Turned out Alexander wasn't in Bradley's class. Bradley smoked him, and Alexander did continue his boxing career, but certainly Bradley was a vastly superior fighter that night. I don't think that's going to happen with this Maris fight against Santa Cruz, and I would imagine anybody. This is a shame. We're talking about American Pharaoh. Attracts a lot of people from, that wouldn't normally be interested in horse racing. And this is the kind of boxing match that should draw the attention of the public. And, while it's on ESPN, a little mainstream TV, that's certainly going to help the cause. They've been pumping the daylights out of this thing. Most people probably would be inclined, if they're only a casual fan, not to watch it. And maybe more inclined to go ahead and pay money to see Mayweather fight Andre Berto, which figures to be another Mayweather snooze fight. If you were trying to induce people into a coma, all you have to do is watch another Floyd Mayweather fight, which I'm a Mayweather fan, I don't really care for his character. Obviously, he's used that as a marketing tool to tremendous advantage. I mean, this is where this marketing program that he's used by being the villain and the guy that everybody hates, which there's legitimate reason not to like this guy with the spousal abuse and some of the other atrocities that he's been involved in that are just unjustifiable. But everybody gravitates towards the guy with the money, and he certainly got a lot of that after taking down bogus $300 million for what turned out to be little more than his appearance on Dancing with the Stars with Manny Pacquiao. Was in there with a bum shoulder. This guy couldn't have even bowled 10 frames, much less gone 12 rounds with somebody and been effective. So this fight coming up, Santa Cruz and Morris, figures to be a beauty. Boxing fans, I know, are going to enjoy it. And if you're just a casual fan out there on the SportsStream Network, check it out on ESPN Saturday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Santa Cruz and Morris. And it wouldn't matter if there was a title on the line or not. Just figures to be a terrific clash of styles and a lot of ego and Latino L.A. pride going to be at stake in this one. The winner's going to be taking a gargantuan step forward in the public eye, and the loser, while it may not be any disgrace, is going to have to start scratching and clawing a little bit, maybe not quite from the ground up, but going to have to go some to restore the opinion that people had of the fighter before. All right, we're going to take a short break here at Gulfstream Park. Lots more to do here on the show. We're hoping to have Mike Nyman, marketing director, stop by here. Our thanks to the former Rabbi Larry Fine for telling his tale of woe. That should be a warning to you degenerates out there, not to get too deep into the hole, but there's always a way to bounce back. I guess there was also a little serendipity message in there as well. Coming back in a moment here from Gulfstream Park. We'll be with you until 12 o'clock on SportsStreamNetwork.com.
No, Bob Homer is a honorary lieutenant, major or something in the Marine Corps. But if you're talking background, Bob Homer is on the board of directors of both General Hospital.
Lentil's good, isn't it? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, get the lentil, you know. Bring a cup of coffee too, empty, all right?
financial stream. It's like a steady stream the other way, right? All right. Okay, my man. We good, Jory? Oh, good to go. Okay. All right, welcome back to the show. Second half. We thank the former Rabbi Larry Fine for stopping by. I think we're trying to assemble a thing on our radio show that you can hear on iHeart Radio and get that on any phone application. Listen to about 200 stations, one of which is 940 WINZ. I'm on there every day, 6 to 10 Eastern Time, and we do a trivia show on Saturday from 8 to 10 Eastern Time. That's also a lot of fun. And we're trying to assemble a panel for a thing we're going to call Degenerate Friday, where we're going to have a variety of football handicappers. Now, surprisingly, we discovered a while back that the great Stu Feiner, the source, I had this story wrong for a long time, but Stu Feiner was on a show that followed the show that was the subject or the inspiration for the movie Two for the Money, with Matthew McConaughey and, of course, Al Pacino playing the character that was inspired by Jim Feist, who was the host of the show. And it was a bunch of touts coming on. There weren't a whole lot of sporting events that were televised at that time, certainly not early in the morning. You couldn't turn on any one of 5 or 6 ESPN channels. Cable was a relatively new thing, and these guys had bought time on the USA Network, which was one of maybe 2 or 3 non-mainstream networks that were on television at the time. So if you were a sports fan, you were looking for anything that was related to sport, and you'd end up clicking on the Proline show, and there was Chip Chirimbus, who's going to be part of our Degenerate Friday, and Jim Feist, who's also consented to be part of this Degenerate Friday hour that we're assembling. Also, Stu Feiner, who's claiming, and we talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday, have you ever found out that you had success but based on an extremely flawed theory, which at one time you believed to be true? And this has happened to me a couple of times in my lifetime. I thought I had decoded the fix at Vernon Downs when I was attending Syracuse University, and we'd spent our entire junior year attempting to figure out what it was. What were the signs that would tip us off when some balloon, some long shot, was going to end up a winner at what was one of the worst horse tracks that you could find anywhere in existence. It was way out there in the woods somewhere. The horses were of very poor quality, unsound, I would think, what would be the way to describe it. And we spent a lot of time trying to figure out if we could, find any signs that were giveaways that we could cash in and make a score on a long shot. So we thought we'd come up with something, and we thought we were getting tipped off by the guy that was writing for the Syracuse Herald-Journal. They had a sports writer named Bud Vanderveer, and he would put his harness picks on the front page of the newspaper. This was a newspaper of the highest journalistic standards and integrity. And this was before the days of tabloid news and Fox News. And, there were some serious principles that were in play here at the Syracuse Herald-Journal. Yet, they diminished their integrity to the point where they were putting harness picks on what looked to be the most fixed races of the century. And the of Vernon Downs above the masthead. Before you even saw Syracuse Herald-Journal, there was Bud's Vernon View, an old coot with some binoculars, and he would give out 3 selections in a harness race. So we thought we detected a pattern that whenever he had a horse that absolutely didn't figure, and he put it in there for third, that was the time to unload on that particular horse. We noticed a pattern where those horses were typically winning at big prices. So he's got a horse he lists there called Wheat Hauler. And we're looking up Wheat Hauler's past performances in the program, which we got at the bookie joint that was masquerading as a cigar shop there on Marshall Street. And we see that this horse has never been on stride at any time, at any juncture of any race ever in history. And we're figuring, okay, this is it. We gather all the money that we can from the various sources that we could come up with. Nobody had a lot of cash on him at the time. I think we come up with about $400. We bet Wheat Hauler to win, Wheat Hauler in exactas, Wheat Hauler in doubles. They didn't have pick 3s back then or pick 4s. Any way that we could cash in on a Wheat Hauler win, we were all over it. Sure enough, Wheat Hauler's dead last all the way around, but doesn't break stride. Atypical of his usual pathetic performance. And he goes around. This was a place they called the Miracle Mile because it was a miracle that any horse could go a mile that was racing at Vernon Downs. A lot of good people ready to bust through. Come on in, guys. It's okay. Telling a story about how we tried to decode the fix at Vernon Downs many years ago while I was in college at Syracuse. I spent the better part of my junior year doing it. And, and this is getting to the point of where sometimes you end up making a big score in gambling based on a theory you thought was true, but in reality, it was all bullshit.
Right, you still made the score.
Right. You made the score only to later find out that your
yeah.
logic was completely flawed. It had no foundation in truth whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
The best. DeFo's the best, baby.
that's always good when you can pull that off. So anyway, make a long story even longer. We end up going out there. We make a huge score on Weed Hauler in this race. He wins for fun. He pulls out from last place and beats everybody. And we come back to the campus there with about 6 dimes, which it may as well have come back with, $3.5 million at that juncture in time, because $6,000 was a hell of a lot of money. At that point, you could buy 3 cars with the score that we made. And then later we found out that this had no significance whatsoever, that Bud didn't even make the picks. There was no fix of that nature at Vernon Downs, and we had a completely flawed theory that ended up turning into reality for us, and only to find out later on that there was no foundation in truth for it whatsoever. That being said, a lot of crazy theories about the preseason and betting, and Stu Feiner, this guy tells us, I think he's basing this completely on a false premise, that betting preseason NFL football, if you can imagine this, is a license to print money. A license to print money. This is your own U.S. Mint. You're going to feel like you're the champion of the world at all times. And I can't buy it. I mean, these games have arbitrary results. We were talking about this game that I saw in New Orleans, where the New Orleans Saints are playing the New England Patriots. The Saints annihilate the New England Patriots in this ballgame. First team is in there. They zip it right down the field, score on the first possession. Second possession, little pass to this guy Cooks, takes it right in for a touchdown. It's 14-0. Third possession, Breeze drops back, lofts a bomb. Perfect trajectory, lands right in the hands of the same guy Cooks, who's 2 feet behind the closest defender, takes it in for a score, 21-0, and everybody's going crazy. Meanwhile, the Patriots on the other side of the ball, they're going 3 and out, just one possession after another. You felt sorry for Brady. I think Brady actually consented to the 4-game suspension after that, because he said, you know what, this offense is hopeless. I don't know if it was a voodoo curse or what, but it was a total annihilation in the part of the game that actually mattered. I know why Mr. Evan is in here with a big smile on his face. Very nice. Do you happen to have the ticket on you? Can we take a picture of it? Congratulations, my friend. That is outstanding.
Thank you.
Now, whose horses were these? We won't give out any figures because you might owe people money.
I can't release that information. And,
Yes.
people will be following one of us around.
Well, there's certain someone might know a few markers out there that people would want to make immediate claim on,
Exactly.
I would imagine. But congratulations.
Thank you
very
very
nice. We're
much,
happy to
Devo.
hear it. Come on in, Michael. Come on into our and this is the great Mike Nyman. Good to see you. How did the evaluation go? Can you say?
It actually got postponed.
Oh, well, no wonder you're still smiling. I was saying, to the guys before we started, they said, well, where's Mike? Is he going to be able to do the show? And I said, he's having an evaluation, and I was trying to remember back. I don't think that ever went well for me. Ever. I mean, going all the way back to like kindergarten when they had the parent-teacher meeting, and they would say, Jeff's a little different. But, all right, so postponed, so you're okay.
For right now.
You live to fight another day, and that's great. And as euphoric as Evan is after this major score that he made yesterday, coupled with the great Jersey Kyle Martinez, partners on a bet that I don't even think Jersey Kyle didn't even know what was happening, right?
No, it doesn't look that way. He was just a partner in the deal.
Just said, here's a stick, see what you can do with it, and left it to the wizard over here.
These
The
guys did a great job.
king of the numbers came up with a beauty, yeah. And that's still floating, right? The pick six.
It's about $500,000 now.
The great play, though, is to play into it on days where even if there are multiple tickets, once it gets up there, the payoffs are so significant, it's definitely worth a shot for
And the
$100
irony
bucks.
is, there was 3 tickets for the pick 6, but nobody had the pick 5. So today there'll be a whole carryover on the pick 5, which I know a lot of people will be all over that today.
All good stuff. All right, let's talk about your New York Mets. Because, speaking of numbers, 6 and a hook is a pretty fat number right now, is it not?
Well, as Met fans know, the last time we were in competition, we were in first place with 17 games to go, and we had a 7-game lead and blew it. So
So you don't want to speak too soon. Now what about sitting Harvey down?
he's pitching tonight.
Okay, but he's skipping a turn. Is that?
He skipped it already. And
Okay.
the guy that pitched for him,
Is he going to be on it now, the regular schedule, or
that's
just
what it sounds like.
okay?
Yeah.
What do you
Because
think
Mats
about
will
all
be
that?
back, so they can go to that 6-man rotation they're talking about.
Yeah. Are you in favor of that or no?
Not really.
No, I don't like that. Do you?
But I don't know what they can do because they'd have to put one of these guys in the bullpen, and probably Syndergaard would be the most likely one to go into the bullpen because you can't put
Can't put-
Cologne or Nice in the bullpen. So,
No. Bartolo finally came back from the dead.
yep.
He's been looking
Pitched
pretty
good the
bad.
other night.
But how did they acquire all this hitting? What happened? I mean, they snapped out of a coma offensively. They literally couldn't score at the proverbial Heidi Fleiss pool party
Well,
before.
a lot of things have kind of come together all at the same time. I mean, first of all, one of our best hitters, Murphy, he didn't play well the first part of the season. Now he's off the hook. Obviously, Cespedes coming to the team makes everybody a lot better. Now David Wright's back. All these guys are hitting. Granderson is hitting. The whole lineup's hitting. Darno's back from an injury. He's hitting.
Yeah.
And then the trade that they don't. Everybody likes to talk about Cespedes because he's the
all
big,
of a sudden, he's been spectacular.
yeah, he's the big fish. But signing Uribe and Kelly Johnson, getting them away from Atlanta, has really solidified their bench. I mean, their starting lineup was terrible, and their bench wasn't too good. And as I mentioned today, you look at their stats; they led the National League in August in every single offensive category, and it's the most home runs the Mets have ever had as a team in 1 month. So, I'm telling you, this is the best team they've ever assembled.
And the Nationals haven't been all that great. The division itself has been a disappointment, including our South Florida and Miami Marlins here, who really seem to be operating under a curse this year.
The whole division really, wasn't. Other than the Mets, I guess, people expected more out of the Marlins. They had a lot of injuries, though. I get that. And Washington, to me, is the real enigma. I'm really surprised. I mean, even though they had some injuries, the guys that came in and played were more than ample replacements. Now they got all their guys back. There's something, I don't know what it is. There's something with them that's just not right, and I can't figure it out.
I think they put their own jinx on themselves when they sat Strasburg down a couple of years ago. And they shut them off before they had really done anything, and then ended up not making it to the playoffs, and I think disgraced themselves in the process because you do have to take a shot. Now the Mets have been nothing really to speak of for the last many years. Going back to '86, last time they had a title, and 2000 was the last time they were really
in the World Series against the Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a while, and this is a team that has a tremendous loyal fan base, even including myself. But when you have a chance, you have to make something happen. I was so glad they didn't sit Chile around the trade deadline because there was some talk that maybe they wouldn't spend the money.
Yeah, but it's not really they had to spend any money because all these guys are free agents anyway. So it's just a matter of paying their contracts for the last couple of months of the season.
Right.
The Mets are going to be up against it because Murphy's a free agent. I mean, to me, that's going to be a big loss. It looks like they're not going to be able to keep him. And now they have to figure out how to sign Cespedes, and he's got that weird contract that the Mets only can sign him up to 5 days after the World Series, and then they can't even be involved in signing him again until next March. So hopefully they're talking to his agent now, kind of figuring out where the number needs to be. But they've got all.
He seems happy there, though. I mean, lighting it up in New York can't hurt this guy.
It's great, but I think what he made a comment, which is great, what's blowing him away is that all these road games, there's huge Met fans.
Yes.
He said in Florida, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia now. Even the Philly announcer said last night there were more Met fans in the park than Philly fans.
It's not hard when you're talking about Florida here, which is the sixth borough, and then on top of that, unfortunately, the Marlins were so lame this year. Their fans had already been kind of neutered. Had reason to be encouraged towards the end of last year, and then certainly in the off season. I don't know anybody that was panning the moves that the Marlins were making. It doesn't guarantee you're going to be great, but seemed like it was sound baseball logic behind it, and that maybe the ownership wasn't going to be as meddlesome, but right away there was a riff with the manager, and I don't know that Miller Huggins could have bailed these guys out this year.
Yeah, well, I think, again, they really had – everybody has injuries, but Marlins seemed like they had more than fair share. I mean, out of all the opening day roster, I think there's only one starting pitcher, Kohler, who's still pitching.
Yeah.
And, either the other guys were traded or there's been injuries, and, your two best pitchers are out. So how can you win? And then Stanton, who's your best player, has been out, 6 weeks already?
And
Yelich
to show
was
you,
out.
he was having such a season that if he came back now, he'd only be 3 home runs out of the home run race. Sure. And he's been sitting out forever. A lot of mysterious injuries. I suspect Ozzie Guillen is behind this somehow. Is that some
Santeria curse?
Santeria thing in Hialeah? Maybe he made a mistake and he mentioned the Marlins by accident. He meant, some girl he knew in his past named Mary Beth, and there's a dead chicken somewhere that's got the strangulation hold on the Marlins from advancing to anything other than being pathetic.
About 15 or 20 years ago, I showed up at my office. I drove in the parking lot in Miami, and somebody did this Santeria ceremony and left it out in the front. And all my employees were like freaked out. And I just went inside and got a broom and a dustpan, and I cleaned it up. And they go, "Oh, you're going to be."
That's it.
I
yeah.
go, I'm not.
Why'd you just smash a mirror over your head while you're at it? Yeah,
that ain't me.
That'll work out well. All right. So we talked a lot in the first segment of the show, Mike, before you were gracious enough to come on about this whole American Pharaoh thing, and the motivation behind it probably is for the owners to make money. Baffert seemed like is he faking that he's opposed to this, or do you really think? I mean, it would have been easy to go to the Pennsylvania Derby, beat a bunch of inferior competition, take the money, and move on to the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Well, as a lot of people have pointed out, Baffert hasn't been so great at Saratoga and stake races.
It's been a burial for this guy.
Yeah, but his overall record there is not bad. But for stake races, it's not been very good. So I could see, and we know it's the graveyard of favorites.
Yes.
And, a lot of favorites have been beat there, but I think it's great for the game. I like it when somebody doesn't want to duck the competition or take the easier route. And this can really solidify him in history because he can do something that really no other horses have done.
Yeah, it's terrific, and we've been complaining about this forever, that horses get taken off the track after they have a big stakes win, and they never really face off against what would have been a key rival, and you end up losing interest in the game and maybe losing that fan that you guys have been trying to attract for a long time. Somebody that takes a look at it and says, wow, that looks like fun. I might go out to the track just from watching it on TV.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, people like to, stick it in the eye of the industry, but meanwhile, look at the turnouts we've had at all the Triple Crown events, and now they're going to
62,000 at the Haskell.
Yeah, and they're sold out for the Travers tomorrow, and the 150 or 160,000 at the Kentucky Derby, and it ain't a cheap ticket to go in there.
No.
It just shows that this is a very event-driven business, and we prove it here. Our big days are huge days. People come out, and a lot of people just have some curiosity. May not be, big followers of the game, but they enjoy the competition. They enjoy the day out, and it's a great sport. And I'm glad we've been able to revive it, here at least.
Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. That's what it's all about. All right, anything special happening here with the Travers or coming events here at Gulfstream Park, Michael?
Well, of course, the Travers is tomorrow, so we'll have full card simulcasting on the whole Saratoga program. They have a great card, a lot of stake races. It's always a great day, and of course, we'll have a full card here as well of live racing. So you get a lot of good things. Next weekend for Labor Day weekend, we'll be open for the Labor Day Monday as well. But next Saturday we have our second leg of the Sire Stakes. The Sire Series are for Florida breds, 2-year-olds. It's a chance to get to see some nice young horses that could end up running in next year's Triple Crown. So, it's great to see some of the better horses here, and you have an opportunity with that. And we have our summer soiree going on that day.
I love that thing.
Yeah, it'll be sweets and treats and Rieslings. So champagne, desserts, and Rieslings that day. And you can buy a ticket here for $25, special for DeFo. You go on Travel Zoo, you can buy the ticket for $15. And then the last one, which of course is going to be the male-dominated one, that one is beer, burgers, and bourbon. And we are selling tickets like crazy for that. We'll have probably 400 or 500 people that'll come for that. So it's a lot of fun. We try to do a lot of things and give you some other things to enjoy the racing with other things that we have going on here in the property. And then Labor Day, it's going to be Fan Appreciation Day. You come out, you show us your program. We're going to bring out all kinds of merchandise. You'll pick whatever you want.
Oh, nice.
Maybe you missed a giveaway. We'll have that. So that'll be happening. And then there'll be all kinds of drink specials here that day. $2 beers, and I think they're doing dollar shots. We're going to have a $19.99 All-American buffet in 10 Palms. Off the hook. You can't eat this good for $20. They're going to have ribs and chicken, hot dogs, hamburgers, salads, desserts. And it's amazing. I'll be up there eating myself. So
no, you do it up right.
Come and join me.
No, it's great stuff. No wonder you're not worried about your evaluation. I was going to say, some of the people in our audience can relate because they're second story men. and they're used to having somebody show them all the merchandise, and then they pick and choose what they want. All right, great time being out here at Gulfstream today. Enjoy yourselves, everybody. A lot of happy people around after a couple of guys we know made a very significant score, which is there's no greater feeling in life. You dream about days like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Nothing
and
like it.
the Pick Six bet is on with a $500,000 jackpot plus. It's going to grow today. So lots of opportunities out here at Gulfstream, and of course the simulcasting with Saratoga and all the great tracks around the country. For Mike Nyman, thanks for coming on, Mike. And the former Rabbi Larry Fine told his degenerate story of, I would have to say, it was an odyssey of terror that he happened to be on when he got picked up for that marker in Las Vegas and was extradited from the Bahamas. That was quite an adventure. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Monday here on SportsStreamNetwork.com.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Excellent job, my friend.